And we're back with more bite-sized information, a T word, on the prototyping process of SLiiDES, one of our first incubator clients.
Yeah. I like bite-sized insight, but it's fine. Whatever you want to do is fine.
I don't like the word bite-sized.
Well, I'm sorry. All right. Lose bite-size.
We just call it Morsels of Manufacturing.
Oh, there you go.
I'm going to write that one down, but I'm trademarking that, baby.
You should be in branding. Manufacturing morsels.
There we go.
Yeah. But that's all right. That works. I'll give you that.
Better than bite-sized?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
So here we are a few weeks into the incubator. SLiiDES, one of our products.
Yeah.
It came to us as an MVP. We are playing a lot of things with the plastic, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good example of looking at the difference between, you can look at proof of concept versus prototype, right? Proof of concept is just proving that the design and the idea works, right? And then your prototype is one step closer to manufacturing. Since this is a plastic product, it adds a bunch of things into the mix, but one of which is, how are we going to make it now versus how would it be made kind of at scale? And so that's one of the things that we're playing around with these SLiiDES, in addition to trying to get initial feedback on how people use them.
That's what I was going to say. We need metrics on how people are going to use it, because even from the proof of concept that was brought into the incubator to now, it's not the same product, right? And we've had usability issues. So we're modifying it to match so people can, almost anybody can use it. So I think that's always important for people to understand, is you don't just add some features and then keep moving. You actually have people touch it, play with it, give real feedback. I mean, we got really honest feedback from multiple people that just said, this is what has to change for me to use it.
Yeah, I wouldn't use it like that.
Right.
And that's kind of always the moving target, right? Is as the inventor, it's so clear to you. All of us who are inventors, it's clear to us. This is how I would use it. This is how I would blah, 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 blah. But then you put it in front of someone and don't give them teaching, don't give them guidance, and you see where your weak spots are. And then couple that with your redesign, right? So that the design is matching the feedback you're getting. And that's what we're going through right now with these SLiiDES, is trying to figure out what is the product market fit, and then based on how people use them, what features does the product need to have?
And I think as people interact with it, we're getting a better validation of the value it brings, and we're seeing the real life results of using it versus not using it, because that helps real messaging, right? But the thing that I found interesting that I learned from you this week, so kudos, is about the design function of putting folds into anything, because I did not know that.
Sure. Yeah, so it adds rigidity to it. So especially with metal manufacturing and metal forming, every piece of metal has two properties. It has shape and it has form. So shape is, so like here's this isn't metal, but it still applies. So shape, this is square, right? Form is if we were to kind of push it out that way. That's its form. And when you give something form, it gives it more rigidity and it gives it structure. It's one of the reasons you won't find a car panel with flat panels on it, for two reasons. One is, when you have a flat panel, if you've ever heard the term oil canning, if you think about like the bottom of an old oil can or a coffee can, if you push on it and it does that kind of boing thing, it's because it doesn't have form. It doesn't have enough rigid structure. So if you made like car panels that way, flat, if you were to tap it, it would boing in on itself and collapse and stuff. But the other thing is that it actually makes your structure rigid, and it gives it strength and it gives it structure by giving it form. So that's one of the things we were doing here with these SLiiDES, is trying to figure out, based on how people use them, by giving it different forms and different kind of wings and bends, we can actually move to a thinner material and still maintain the same kind of rigid structure that we need to get.
Which will save us shipping costs.
Yeah.
And packaging costs. So.
Yep. And manufacturing costs.
And manufacturing, because our supply chain is cheaper.
Yeah. But it's also a good point to kind of draw the difference between understanding your cost as an upfront manufacturer versus down the road, right? So you're your cost of your prototype is always going to be at least 2 to 3 times higher than your actual cost at scale or at your run. And that's something we see a lot here, where people will extrapolate from their prototyping costs, and they'll go, all right, well, my prototype was this much, so my price has to be that. You know, if my cost is X, my price has to be Y. But your prototype is not really a fair assessment of what your cost is going to be, because there's so much design built into, so much design time, design hours built into your prototype process.
Yeah, but we have to be careful with people that have an idea and haven't built it yet, that we're talking about engineered prototypes. Because in the first round of the incubator, people sent us cardboard, which is not more expensive.
Right.
But it was a proof of concept,
Right.
but they called it a prototype.
Yeah.
Right? So we just have to be really clear so people understand what we're talking about. We're talking about after we've touched it and engineered it to a physical shape, not just the cardboard or the drawing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great way to point out the difference between proof of concept and prototype. So, I mean, proof of concept is just your raw, natural, does it work? How does it work? Your prototype is one step closer to manufacture, where you're actually using the materials, using the, you know, everything that would almost be manufacturable to try it. And then that's what you take, put in people's hands, get feedback, iterate, move forward.
Yeah, in our model, one of our uniqueness is that we'll take the prototype to market in small batch so that we can kind of expand and educate and build awareness, but also get a lot more feedback loops coming back so that when we go to manufacture scale, we have a lot of the bugs worked out.
Right. Well, and one of the things that we do with the people in the incubator is we have them rank their design goals, right? So you may not have trade-offs up front, right? When you design it in your head or in your house or in your garage or wherever, it's crystal clear to you. When you go to manufacturer, you're going to have to make trade-offs. You might not be able to get the material you wanted. It might be too expensive. You might need a thinner material. You might, you know, if you had 5 features you wanted it to have for the price point that we now know your customer is willing to pay, you might have to lose two features. So ranking those design goals early on helps you when you go to manufacture, so you can make those decisions quickly. You know, bushings versus bearings, all those kind of technical details. It all stems from you understanding and ranking your design goals.
That's also, I mean, that's part of our process, because we've lived through where we've had clients that we built to a certain specification, and then when they went to scale, they diminished a lot of the qualities, and the final product, even though we had some licensing on the harder prototype, when they went to manufacture scale, they cut so many corners that they lost all the licensing and distribution. So you have to be careful about making sure that what you're representing to people is what you're ending up with.
Right.
Because that's what they're buying.
Yeah. And that goes back to your product market fit and understanding features and benefits and knowing, like, what is the true benefit? What is the value added? Because those are the features that will be ranked highly versus the things that aren't ranked so highly. If you lose them, it's fine. It doesn't matter. But that's what we're going through right now with SLiiDES. And we're going through it with, excuse me, with our cabinet product as well.
Yeah, but I think the thing about, just to stay on SLiiDES for a little while, I think the fact that we actually have added from the original design, because of feedback, we've added other possible products to sell, just expanded their line that they would never have thought of. So, yeah. I mean, you know, the incubator for them has brought a lot of value. So
yeah, it opened up a whole other market. Like you said, that market opened a whole new product. Still linked to the original design intent, but brought more options to the table.
Yeah, and I think it narrowed who the real customer is going to be too, because we've had some real negative, and that's a compliment to the inventor of that. Like, she took the negative, right? Because some people take the negative and just get mad, and we've had them leave our office, right?
Yep.
We've told them the truth, and they just get pissed off at us and leave. I mean, to be able to take the negative with the glory, right? There's always the yin and yang. So I give her a lot of credit for putting up with us too. So
yeah, well, that's part of the role of the incubator, right? is it gives, because everyone goes to their first, their wife, their spouse, their partner, their mother, whoever, and they say how great your idea is.
Their cat.
Yeah, the mirror. And then you go to the incubator and you go to in front of other business owners who have never seen it before. And so it's almost, an incubator is almost like a soft launch where you come in to people you've never met before.
And prove that everybody's not going to buy your product.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, watching, and subscribing to No Followers Podcast. We'll see you next week.